What if the king of late-night television quietly despised one of comedy's brightest stars? Johnny Carson, the legend who made careers with a single nod, never warmed to Jerry Seinfeld, the genius behind a sitcom empire. The truth behind their rift will leave you stunned. In the golden age of television, Johnny Carson was untouchable. For 30 years, from 1962 to 1992, he ruled The Tonight Show with a charisma that defined late-night comedy. His desk was a throne, his couch a launchpad for stars like Robin Williams, Joan Rivers, and Eddie Murphy. A single appearance on his show could turn an unknown comic into a household name, with viewership peaking at 15 million nightly in the 1970s. Yet, one comedian, despite his monumental success, never earned Carson's full embrace: Jerry Seinfeld. By 1993, Seinfeld's sitcom was a cultural juggernaut, drawing 30 million viewers a week with its sharp humor about life's trivialities. But behind the scenes, a silent tension simmered between the king of late night and the man who built a show about nothing. This isn't just a story of two men, it's a saga of clashing eras, values, and visions of comedy. As we dive into this Hollywood Cold War, you'll feel Carson's quiet disappointment, Seinfeld's relentless drive, and the ache of a comedy world shifting beneath them. From a scandalous romance to philosophical divides, this tale reveals the human side of two titans. Stay with me. The reasons behind Carson's withheld blessing are more layered, more poignant than you ever imagined. It's May 1993, and Jerry Seinfeld is at the zenith of his career. Seinfeld, in its fourth season, is NBC's crown jewel, averaging 20.9 million viewers per episode, outpacing rivals like Cheers. At 38, Seinfeld is a comedic genius, his observational humor about cereal boxes and airplane seats resonating with a generation. Then, a chance encounter in Central Park changes everything. Shoshana Lonstein, a 17-year-old senior at New York's prestigious Dalton School, crosses his path. Bright, poised, and decades younger, she sparks a connection that soon becomes a relationship and a national controversy. The 21-year age gap was impossible to ignore. Lonstein, still in high school, couldn't vote or drink, while Seinfeld, nearing 40, wielded fame and wealth most could only dream of. He insisted they waited until her 18th birthday to date officially. But paparazzi photos, intimate dinners at Elaine's, strolls in Manhattan, told a different story. The public was split. Some saw it as a quirky romance, others as a troubling power imbalance. People magazine's August 1993 cover, The Graduate, drew parallels to the 1967 film about an older seductress and a young man. Newsweek called it unsettling, questioning why a star at Seinfeld's level would pursue someone so young. The New York Post ran headlines like "Seinfeld's teen scene, fueling tabloid frenzy." For Johnny Carson, this was more than gossip. It was a betrayal of principle. At 68, retired but still a towering figure, Carson was a product of a different era. Born in 1925 in Corning, Iowa, he grew up during the Great Depression, where celebrities were expected to embody dignity. His Tonight Show was a family-friendly institution, averaging 8 million viewers in its final years. Johnny was old school, said Fred de Cordova, Carson's longtime producer. He believed fame came with a moral compass. A 38-year-old with a teenager? That was beyond the pale. Carson refused to touch the topic on air during his final years. A 1991 monologue joke about the couple, tested in rehearsal, bombed with the audience, prompting Carson to ban further mentions. It wasn't funny. It was awkward, a writer recalled. Johnny wanted no part of it. The emotional toll was profound. Carson, who had endured 3 public divorces and the tragic loss of his son Rick in a 1991 car accident, valued discretion. His own struggles, alcoholism, personal losses, were kept private, preserving his image as America's trusted host. Seinfeld's openness, his seeming indifference to the criticism, felt like a rejection of that ethos. Johnny saw himself as a guardian of comedy's integrity, said Ed McMahon, Carson's sidekick. This felt like a slap in the face. The romance, which ended in 1997 after 4 years, left a lasting mark. In Carson's eyes, Seinfeld had revealed a flaw in character, a flaw that would shape their unspoken feud. On screen, Seinfeld was America's everyman, turning mundane frustrations into universal laughs. His 1981 Tonight Show debut, a 5-minute set about airline travel, earned a rare post-performance nod from Carson, boosting his career. But off-camera, a different Jerry emerged. Colleagues described him as meticulous, scripts memorized, timing flawless, but emotionally distant. "He was a machine," said a Tonight Show stagehand from Seinfeld's 1987 appearance. Did his set, shook hands, left. No warmth, no connection. Carson, by contrast, thrived on camaraderie. Despite hosting 4,531 episodes and interviewing 22,000 guests, he remembered names, asked about families, and shared drinks with crew members. "Johnny knew the lighting guy's kids' names," said Peter Lassily, a Tonight Show producer. He believed television was a team effort. Seinfeld's detachment stood out during his multiple appearances, 1981, 1984, 1987, and 1990. While professional, he rarely engaged with staff, creating what one grip called an invisible wall. A pivotal moment came during a 1989 Tonight Show comedy roundtable with Seinfeld, Gary Shandling, and Roseanne Barr. Seinfeld, ever the contrarian, took swipes at peers like David Letterman and Jay Leno, calling their audience engagement forced and pandering. The crowd laughed. But backstage, Carson's smile was tight. "Johnny hated that kind of talk," said writer Andrew Niccol. He believed comedy was about lifting others up, not tearing them down. Carson valued humility, the ability to laugh at oneself. Seinfeld's confidence, while magnetic, felt cold, lacking the vulnerability of Carson's favorites like Richard Pryor or Joan Rivers. The emotional undercurrent was one of missed connection. Carson, who had navigated fame's pressures with grace, saw in Seinfeld a brilliance that could have been transcendent. But the detachment, the refusal to connect, felt like a rejection of comedy's communal spirit. "Johnny mentored comics like they were family," said comedian George Wallace, a frequent guest. Jerry seemed like he didn't need anyone. This was a quiet heartbreak for Carson, a sense that Seinfeld's talent was undercut by a lack of humanity. Carson was no stranger to wealth. By 1992, his net worth was estimated at $300 million, earned through savvy NBC contracts and investments in real estate and broadcasting. Yet, his Midwestern roots kept him grounded. He drove a Mercedes but never bragged about it. His philanthropy, $10 million to Nebraska charities, support for children's hospitals, was discreet. "Johnny thought flaunting money was tacky," said Lassily. He believed comedy came from struggle, from relating to the audience. Seinfeld embraced his riches openly. By 1998, Seinfeld's syndication deals earned him $100 million annually, with a net worth nearing $800 million by 2005. His collection of 150-plus Porsches, valued at $50 million, became a public fascination. Housed in a custom Manhattan garage, he traveled by private jet, lived in a $20 million Central Park West penthouse, and built comedians in cars getting coffee around his luxury cars. "I love the craftsmanship," Seinfeld told Car and Driver in 2013, describing his Porsches. To him, wealth was an extension of his success. This clashed with Carson's ethos. Raised in Norfolk, Nebraska during the Depression, Carson saw money as a tool, not a personality trait. "Johnny used to say, 'Your garage doesn't make you funny,'" said writer Raymond Siller. He thought Jerry's obsession with wealth disconnected him from the audience. Carson admired comics like Jack Benny, who maintained an everyman charm despite millions in earnings. Seinfeld's approach, openly celebrating his riches, felt foreign, a symptom of a new Hollywood where celebrity was about status, not connection. The emotional stakes were high. Carson, who had negotiated fiercely at NBC, knew money's value but also its limits. His quiet generosity, funding scholarships, mentoring young comics, reflected a belief that fame came with responsibility. Seinfeld's openness, while aspirational to younger audiences, felt to Carson like a betrayal of comedy's roots. It was a sadness tinged with nostalgia, a longing for an era when comedians stayed grounded, no matter their success. Carson didn't just host The Tonight Show, he defined it. His format, monologue, desk, couch, became the blueprint for late-night TV. From 1962 to 1992, he delivered 7,000 monologues and hosted stars from Frank Sinatra to Madonna, averaging 10 million viewers in the 1980s. Johnny saw the show as America's living room, said NBC executive Rick Ludwin. It wasn't just entertainment, it was connection. When Seinfeld launched Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee in 2012, he framed it as a rejection of that tradition. No fake interviews, no desks, no suits, he told the New York Times. This is real, unfiltered. The implication, Carson's format, was artificial, outdated. To a man who had guided America through assassinations, wars, and scandal, this was a personal wound. Johnny took it hard, said a friend, Alex Trebek, who stayed close post-retirement. He felt Jerry was dismissing his life's work. The irony was stark. Seinfeld's career owed much to The Tonight Show. His 1981 debut, a set about airline food, earned a rare Carson nod, leading to Seinfeld's creation. Appearances in 1984 on laundromats and 1987 on dating solidified his rise. Yet his comments suggested ingratitude. Johnny believed in respect, said Lassley. Jerry's words felt like a betrayal. In a rare 1999 interview, Carson quipped, "Without talk shows, Jerry might still be in Long Island clubs." The humor masked genuine hurt. The emotional toll was profound. Carson, who retired at 66, was protective of his legacy. Seinfeld's dismissal wasn't just criticism, it was a rejection of the values, accessibility, unity that defined his career. For fans, it highlighted a shift from Carson's inclusive era to Seinfeld's individualistic one, a change that carried a quiet grief for a lost sense of community. Carson's favorite comedians, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Robin Williams, shared a raw humanity. Pryor's 1977 Tonight Show, set on race, was raw and confessional. Carlin's 1984 bit on language challenged norms. Williams's 1982 appearance masked pain with manic energy. Johnny believed great comedy made you feel, said writer Bucky Henry. It wasn't just laughs, it was truth. Seinfeld's humor was different, precise, observational, deliberately shallow. "I don't do emotions," he told Rolling Stone in 1994. "I do funny." Seinfeld thrived on triviality, soup Nazis, double-dipping, avoiding politics or personal depth. Its 1998 finale drew 76 million viewers. To Carson, it lacked soul. Johnny respected Jerry's craft but thought it stayed on the surface, said a confidant. He wanted comedy to touch deeper truths. This divide carried a deep emotional weight. Carson, who had faced 3 divorces, his son's 1991 death, and alcoholism, saw comedy as transcendence. Seinfeld's refusal to engage with pain felt like a missed opportunity. When Carson praised Norm Macdonald, whose quirky, honest humor shone in a 1997 Tonight Show appearance, it was clear who he saw as his heir. "Norm's got soul," he told Trebek. "He makes you laugh and think." Seinfeld, for all his precision, seemed to Carson a technician, not an artist, a realization that carried sorrow. Norm Macdonald was Carson's ideal comic, dry, fearless, authentic. In 1997, Carson, retired but watching, saw Macdonald's SNL Weekend Update and called him the real thing. "Norm's got that old-school spirit," he told friends, comparing him to Jack Benny. Macdonald's humor, rooted in absurdity and honesty, contrasted with Seinfeld's polish. When Macdonald appeared on Comedians in Cars in 2017, his offbeat charm clashed with Seinfeld's control. After Macdonald's 2021 death, tributes flooded from Letterman, O'Brien, and Sandler. But Seinfeld stayed silent. "That would have broken Johnny's heart," said comedian Bob Saget. "He believed you honored your peers." Seinfeld's silence reinforced his image as detached, focused on his brand over community. The emotional resonance is legacy. Carson saw in McDonald a continuation of comedy's heart. Seinfeld's silence, intentional or not, underscored the divide. A comedian more concerned with his own success than comedy's broader spirit. The Carson-Seinfeld rift reflected a cultural shift. Carson's era, 1962-1992, was one of shared experience, with The Tonight Show uniting 15 million nightly viewers in the 1970s. By the 1990s, cable TV and niche audiences fragmented that unity. Carson believed fame carried responsibility. Seinfeld embraced a model where personal brand trumped connection. This carried a weight of loss. Carson, who navigated Vietnam, Watergate, and the Reagan years, saw comedy as a unifying force. Seinfeld's focus on wealth and individualism felt like a departure. Johnny worried comedy was becoming a product, said Trebek. Jerry was the face of that change. The stakes were personal. The soul of comedy was at risk. Carson's career began in the 1950s, a time of conformity. His humor, gentle, inclusive, reflected an America seeking stability. By 1992, he had hosted through civil rights, Woodstock, and the Cold War, maintaining universality. Seinfeld emerged in the 1980s, a decade of excess. Seinfeld's irony and detachment mirrored a culture obsessed with status. Its 1993-94 season averaged 20.9 million viewers per Nielsen, but its focus on trivialities reflected a fragmented, consumer-driven society. This contrast fueled Carson's unease. His fans longed for his era's warmth, when one show defined a nation's laughter. Seinfeld's rise signaled a cynical, individualistic world, a shift that left Carson feeling like a relic. The feud wasn't just personal, it was a topic among industry insiders. Johnny never said it outright, but you could tell he didn't get Jerry, said Leno, who took over The Tonight Show in 1992. Letterman, a Carson protege, noted in a 2010 interview, Johnny valued heart. Jerry's comedy was brilliant but cold. The Seinfeld writers' room, led by Larry David, leaned into its detached style. But some, like Peter Melman, acknowledged Carson's influence. Without Johnny's platform, we might not have gotten the green light, Melman said in 2015. The feud's impact lingers. Seinfeld's syndication earns $400 million annually per Forbes 2020, but Carson's legacy, seen in Fallon Kimmel, remains the gold standard. Posts on X in 2023 reflect nostalgia for Carson's warmth. Johnny made you feel like family. Seinfeld made you laugh, but that's it. Johnny Carson and Jerry Seinfeld reshaped comedy, each in their own way. Carson, with his warmth, built a nightly ritual that united America. Seinfeld, with his wit, created a sitcom empire that redefined humor. Yet, Seinfeld never earned Carson's blessing, a nod worth more than any Emmy. This feud, rooted in a scandalous romance, contrasting personas, and clashing values, reveals comedy's evolution. Carson longed for humor that connected. Seinfeld mastered humor that observed. In their rift, we see a changing America, from shared laughter to solitary success. Which speaks to you, Carson's heartfelt legacy or Seinfeld's sharp modernity? Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell us which Hollywood rivalries you want next. If this dive into comedy's past moved you, hit the like button, subscribe, and join our channel for more untold stories from entertainment's golden age. Don't miss out. Become part of our community today.
Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into Hollywood's hidden history.